Hey everybody, welcome to the Purpose People podcast. Today we're meeting Mike Crook from Nimbus Hosting. So thanks for joining us.
Pleasure, thanks for having me.
So when we met some of your team, they dobbed you in it and they said, Mike would be great on your podcast. So here you are. So yeah, and apparently you're a bit of a podcast veteran, I hear. So.
Well, now there's pressure, I suppose, but yeah. I've done quite a few of my time, yeah.
So just tell us a little bit about your background in terms of, you're obviously working for a hosting company and there's loads of stuff to talk about that, but out of all the careers you could do in the world, how did you end up doing that one? Was that always on your radar?
No, I don't think, I suppose I've never had anything on the radar, I suppose. When everybody asks, what do you want to do as a career, I never really had an answer. I suppose some people have it sewn up, don't they, and they know what they want to do. But I've always had a creative background, and a lot of what I was doing when I left school and started doing college work and stuff like that, it was all very creative work I was doing, and then sort of fell into web design. I suppose it was still quite a new thing for some companies.
Yeah.
And I just ended up working for one print-based business in Bristol, who I think they liked the fact that I had I did a college course on web design, I suppose, and then I fell into
Dreamweaver.
Dreamweaver, that kind of stuff, really.
Yeah.
So I started doing that for them, and I was just their web guy, I suppose, in sort of air quotes. And then I started doing more work for those, and I quite enjoyed it actually. Then when I left that role, I did a very brief stint in photography. So I did a photography course.
Okay.
I went and did a degree. I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, so I did that. I don't use it at all anymore. But I like the creativity side of it. And then when I finished that, I went and worked for my first agency, and that's where I found, when I walked in the door of that place, it was just like, oh my god, this is like the place I need to be. It was amazing. There's the bustle of all the everything going on, and but that was a predominantly print based business again. So being the web guy, I kind of got involved in that and started to craft a revenue streams for that business around digital. And that's where I started to get the passion for, actually, I don't necessarily enjoy the development, but what I enjoyed was the business side of it. And started to get involved in going, actually, I can create a team here and create the consultation with the clients and talking to them and starting to understand their problems. And then as a business, how do you sort of connect that back to going, okay, well, what could we sell them that would help that problem? And that's where it started to get exciting for me. And I was thinking, actually, I could do this, and this is like a job, which I didn't realise was, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. But then it was an emergent field as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, obviously we take it for granted now because we've been doing it for however long, and our kids grow up thinking this is just the norm, but it certainly wasn't.
100% it wasn't. I remember when obviously the iPhone and all the rest of it and the iPads came out, and we started building apps for people who, we worked for HSBC, who was quite happy to throw 50, 100 grand at you just to test and build something, So we were quite happy to take that money and test and build stuff with it. But you learn along the way, and then we were trying to work out how we could then commercialize that. And I think that's a bit like agencies and their AI side of things now, where we're talking to our client base who are agencies, and they're figuring out how do we use AI, how do we do these things, and actually it doesn't all have to replace people. It could be a commercial revenue stream for you or something, so it's how do you take those innovations out of the time and try and think, how do you commercialize them? And that's what I quite liked.
Yeah, I think that's always been a bit of a common theme. It's like whenever a new technology comes out, the biggest fear is it's going to replace people. It's going to replace jobs. No, it isn't. It's just going to change jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
And, the carpenter that managed to make a table and then maybe figured out how to make 10 very quickly, and it's all of a sudden it's like, well, we're not going to go back to the way we were doing it, but then there's a massive market out there. So how do we do 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 and then distribute that around the world? Those are the problems to solve.
Exactly, yeah.
And so for me, when people go, oh, AI is going to take our jobs and da-da-da, I'm like, no, it just means your job is going to change. Some of the most boring stuff might be gone, which is good. But you're not going to get a silver man knocking on your door with a red glowing eye. Hopefully anyway.
Not. Yeah.
Asking for Sarah Connor. Oh, next door.
Yeah, definitely.
So, I mean, in terms of your sphere then, so let's just go back a little bit. So you've got this digital marketing background, the emergence of the internet, and figuring out how to solve things. And then naturally, obviously online and on the web, you're building stuff and they're going to need servers. So fast forward to the end of the story where you are now, that's essentially you're sort of like working in that world now in terms of how to host a website, look after it, or applications or so be it. Are you enjoying that as a role? And what's different between you walking into this brave new world to now where you are?
Yeah, good question. The leap wasn't as big as you might think from going sort of agency world to hosting, because very much Nimbus's target market is agencies. So the last agency that I was in, I was the MD of, we were about 90% subscription based anyway.
Yeah.
And what we're trying to help agencies do through our hosting infrastructure is create retainer based income.
Yeah.
So new revenue streams, and getting them to understand that actually this could be a really profitable revenue stream for you, this hosting business. And it will hopefully pay down some of the project based income, you know, the lumpy revenue that agencies have. And I think when I spoke to founder Tim, the founder of Nimbus, when he was talking about what he was trying to achieve, that resonated really well, because I was thinking, well, actually, during the pandemic, we didn't really lose any clients through our agency because they were paying small amounts of retainer-based work. And they needed to market. It wasn't like there was loads of projects we had to go and pitch for, because projects weren't really in existence at that point, but people were quite happy to still pay the money to continue marketing. And I wanted to then take that and go, okay, well, how else can we then, you know, replicate that for other agencies? And now the difference, I suppose, for us to other hosting companies is that we take more of a consultancy approach. Like, how can we help you create that retainer-based income from the services that we sell? And that's the strategic side that I'm really, you know, floats my boat, I suppose. Gets me really excited and think, okay, how do we do more of that? How can we scale that up? And how can we shout to the world that actually agency owners could make some really good income through hosting, very profitable. You know, once you paid us, the rest is pure profit, right? So how do you do that? How do you structure it? How do you sell the value to something like that to clients and all that sort of stuff? So those are the bits that excite me. Yeah,
because I mean, you know, obviously we run an agency and we host our websites with yourself, and so, you know, for us, we worked on the aspect of care package, because what we were finding is people were paying us for hosting, and then we're doing loads of free work. Can you update this? Can you change this? Can you do this? And you know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, maybe longer now, we figured out, hang on a minute, you know, that's a lot of money that's leaving our door, not because we don't want to charge them, we're adding a significant amount of value. But if we said, look, let's formalize this, which is what we did, people are like, yeah, that's fair. Yeah, we're happy to do that. And, you know, it's been one of the great products that we've brought into our business, is by giving people a care package that means they've got a bit of time to do the thing that they don't want to do, but they also got the security knowing that their website's going to be up, you know, and it's not going to break, and these plugins are looked after, and all these other things that go with it. We still deal with a few companies, very rare now. Oh, I thought the website was finished. You know, it's like, we're very upfront in our sales conversation. It's like, this is a living, breathing being, and once it's live, and there is a recurring cost. And I think, you know, there's still some people there that don't quite get that. But, you know, I think it's become more of an accepted thing now that, sites need maintenance, need looking after, and the digital landscape changes so quickly, you know, in terms of whether it's browsers or devices or whatever, then you've got to continually innovate and look after things. Where I wanted to just touch base on you, because I think this is, funny enough, we've done a few podcasts of Relate, and the most interesting thing that's coming out is sustainability. Now, obviously, the big argument in the past was that don't use print because print's killing the planet. And it's free if you and no problem if you just send emails, you know. And the reality is that uses energy in itself that has a knock-on effect to the environment. So just tell us a little bit about how you've adapted to that environment, because, you know, that is really important for companies now, because we've had a lot of people go, is your hosting sustainable? And we're like, yeah, it is, because we're working with a company that thinks that way. So can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So we have been going around, we've been around for about 10 plus years now. And I suppose we adopted a sort of green mindset from the beginning. Before it was sexy and in vogue, I suppose. Now everybody's talking about it. But what we had before was a sustainable, 100% renewable energy data center. So we started off with that initially. And as we've grown as a business, and certainly accelerated that probably over the last few years, is to look at us as a business and think, how can we not just offset, but how can we reduce our carbon footprint? And we've spent a lot of time doing that, and a lot of expense, I suppose. We've done a lot to reduce our footprint internally. Things like we did a markdown every time somebody made a cup of tea or went to the loo, those kind of things. It's all anonymous. But we wanted to see our water consumption and see what happened there.
You said they're all anonymous. I quite like that little subtle there. Yeah. Who keeps going to the loo? Exactly. Change your diet.
Yeah. Who's got, issues with whatever. Yeah. So we marked those down, and then we was able to go, okay, well, this tap we could do this with, or we could change our systems and things like that, so that then that became more efficient from our water production. We changed all our energy providers. It was a fairly quick fix to being renewable energy, but what we also have done is invested in solar panels on our roof. So we've got 72 solar panels on our roof. We've got battery storage, so sunny day like today, can store it all in there, which is really nice, and then use it, trickle charge it over the course of the day or the week or whatever it might be, to help us. We've also bought into, which I thought was really smart, is a wind farm. So we have bought into a wind farm somewhere whereby then that energy we get back and we use it from the grid, so we kind of get credits back from it, I suppose. Yeah. So therefore we don't need to really worry about, is our energy supplier really using renewable energy? We know that the energy that we're using is, because we bought that. And if we moved offices, we just take that with us. Can't take the solar panels, but we could take our investment in the wind farm with us. We've also introduced an EV car scheme. So I think about 30-40% of the business has taken us up on that offer. So we've got a company car partner where we go to them, and they give us obviously a range of different cars for people to take up, and that is based effectively a percentage of your salary. So if you can't just everybody go out and get Porsches. You have to have
Porsche taken.
Yeah, exactly. I can't pay the bills this week, but this month I've got a Porsche taken. So we make sure that there's a percentage to people's salaries that they're allowed to then take up on that. And as I say, it's been really, really well received. And then we've got electric car chargers at work as well. So sort of fair use policy, which is really nice to sort of say free fuel, I suppose, in some way, which is really nice. But that comes off the solar panels as well. So those are the big things that we've done, but they've done loads of little things like, we do soft plastic recycling, all the other recycling stuff that we can do. And then we do small things to gauge the business. So we'll do a litter pick around our industrial estate and tidy that up. And just various things that we can engage people in and bring it to life. So
that leads me nicely onto all that behaviour is obviously driven by maybe something a little bit bigger than just that, and that B Corp. Are you in the process?
Yeah, we're going through. Yeah, that's a good question. We're going through the B Corp process at the moment. We ummed and ahed for a bit, I suppose, on a moral ground, because some of the companies that were perhaps associated with B Corp, we thought, were they actually B Corp? Do they deserve to be there? We didn't quite know whether that was the right thing to do. But more recently, I think they've clamped down on a few companies. It's been nice to see that. Okay, well, I don't mind being part of a collective group that holds their group to account. Yeah,
the most public one, which is the beer company, and they dealt with that heavily. Yeah. So, there was a press statement because everyone said, well, if you don't do anything about this, then it undermines the whole 100%. Community. But I was talking to someone just recently that Nescafe, the Nespresso, Nespresso, they've just become a B Corp. Yeah. Which is interesting. So,
I wonder how that works. I wonder if it's. I was told that it was sections of the business can apply, but not all. Like if they discount, I don't know how it works, to be honest, on that front. But so it's some of it is still a little bit questionable, I suppose, and morally, you got to question that. But we felt that actually we'll go through that process with open arms, and if we need to change something, we'll quite happily do that. And a lot of our clients, a lot of agencies are going through that process as well, and it's quite nice to be able to have a conversation with them about. We're both in the B Corp, and this is how we get.
Well, that's it. I mean, we're a B Corp ourselves. We've seen a lot of industries change because of that. So, for instance, we work with a few recruitment companies that are now gone down the B Corp route because ultimately recruitment wasn't the best of organisations in terms of the way that it would function, particularly around a people and culture perspective. So, thankfully, there's some great recruitment agencies out there that have said, you know what. We've gone for it, and they've become B Corp as a result. So, I think as a change agent, B Corp is a really good thing of doing. In terms of the wider picture, it's kind of part of a conversation of another podcast, but it was a case of if B Corp wakes large organisations up to do better, I think that can only be a good thing.
Agree.
And I said, imagine someone like Coca-Cola becoming a B Corp. That would rattle a few cages, but it'd be good to see, because ultimately one of the world's largest companies, and then seeing how they do what we want to do, but at scale. We don't have the problems they have, know, and so it'd be quite an interesting journey to see them, or whether they've even engaged, down that route yet. But so in terms of what we found is, we found a lot of the companies that we're working with, because we are B Corp ourselves, because we're dealing a lot with impact-led businesses. That was always the question that come up. You kind of anticipated our ask. If that makes sense, because you were green in terms of your servers and stuff. So can you explain a little bit about what makes your servers green? So to the person out there that goes, well, I know I'll do something, but what makes your servers different from somebody else's?
Okay. So as I said, the biggest part is that the data center itself runs off of renewable energy. I think that's important. And then it's a modern data center, if that's a thing that you can wrap it up in. But I suppose what that means is it becomes more efficient and effective when it's using energy. And that's a really big part. How does it recycle it? How does it use it? How does it cool things down? You've got lots of servers in a row producing lots and lots of heat. They need cooling down. So it's in way in which it's created is very smart to make sure that it's efficient as possible. And then what we do is we're always looking for the latest technology, because if we can squeeze more efficiency out of a server and reduce its energy consumption, then that is only a good thing. And sometimes that's marginal, but if those margins continue to happen, it will make up to a big thing. And if you think of how many servers there are in a rack or in the data center itself, if we're all investing continuously in new technology and making sure it's efficient and it's effective, then that's where that energy will continue to drive down. You know, so for instance, we're in a few months' time, we're going to a massive event in Germany where lots of hosting people go, and there's lots of tech there. So we'll be, nosing around, looking for new technology, looking at things and looking developments to go, okay, well, how can we bring that back into what we do? And I must admit, some of this stuff we probably should shout more about it, but some of the stuff we don't even shout about because we just think that that's just the right thing to do internally. And we do it, every time we say, we put a different thing in here, and I think people are going, shut up, it's boring. But, it's just what we're doing. It's trying to be, we're sort of reclaiming the word geek, I suppose. We're super geeky internally about how we can make things more efficient and more performant. So if we can get more performance but less energy consumption, that's only a good thing. So we try to do that on a regular basis, really. And our infrastructure and DevOps team are tasked, and they have KPIs around making things more efficient and more performant.
So, naturally, you said about that your business is more green in its approach to servers and stuff like that. And obviously people are looking for companies that are that way engaged. So how do you attract your talent and then to remain in terms of what you are? I mean, how does it work? How do you attract your talent first and foremost?
It is a challenge in of itself, because we're based in Hertford, which is just outside of London. So we're competing with, London salaries and London businesses. But equally, when we position ourselves as more sustainable in the way that we are, and actually people see that we're genuinely passionate about that rather than just paying lip service to it, we end up attracting that type of talent. I think we've had more CVs coming our way when we're putting jobs out than we ever have done before, and some really good, talented people as well. And I think that's down to the position, the sustainability, and also the mission that we're on. When we can articulate the mission that we're trying to help agencies with a higher purpose, it's not just, hey, come to us because we're doing hosting. It's actually we're helping businesses grow through our retainer strategies, and then also being more sustainable. And I think people just want to work for businesses who have a higher purpose than just make money. It's no longer. No,
it's not exactly. And I mean, working with agencies, they're now in the world of retelling those stories. So it's good to have a company that's hosting their website that buys into that.
Exactly.
Trying to do better than just making money. And obviously you need to make money because you can't help poor people with no money, for example. But likewise, it's not at the expense of everything else.
And I think money is a byproduct of being successful at something. So if you are successful in business because you're solving problems and people want to go on that journey with you, you're going to get more people coming to you, aren't they? Because you can demonstrate and you can prove
Yeah.
that you're doing what you say you do.
Yeah.
And that relationship then, blossoms, and you obviously make more money out of that other company because they want to give you more work. So
exactly.
that's how the cycle works, really. I think if you're going into business thinking you're just going to be a millionaire, then you're unlikely to make the money that you felt you wanted to, right?
You sound a bit like Del Boy from Only Fools and Horses. I want to be a millionaire.
Exactly.
This time next week.
Year, this time next year, honest. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that for me, it's. I think obviously the pandemic and this new focus on impact is only a good thing for the workplace and the workforce, but ultimately we still need to be profitable, we still need to be efficient, we still need to be delivering what we say that we're going to deliver on. So with Nimbus, obviously hosting, and that's for some people that's new, but for you that's old. So what's new for you, being further ahead of the curve and everybody else?
Good question. So what's new for us? We are, I suppose I have to be careful what I say, because we've just gone through a planning exercise. So we've got.
I don't want to give it all away.
Listen, I'm just trying to think through in my mind how I can position it. There's,
well, you might be looking at things like AI or whatever.
Yeah, we have to, right? I think any business nowadays has to look at how we can become more efficient and effective through the use of AI. We've got people trialing those sorts of things and looking at ways in which we can build on top of those. We want to. We've got some new product ideas, I guess, around how we can help agencies with reoccurring income. So building more, not just hosting. Beyond hosting, we need to diversify our revenue as well, like most companies do. So what else can we help agency with along the same lines of that retainer-based income? So we've got some solutions that we want to start, ideating on and testing and seeing what the market thinks of those. And then we released a number of features this year into our platform, which was around. They were paid for features. So we want our agencies, we want them to subscribe to those features for us, but we want them to resell it to their clients. Yeah. So there's probably more features that we could be building in there that clients then can resell and create and add value to their hosting and their clients as well, performance and security and all those sorts of things that we know that agencies, certainly at the moment, the conversations we're having is they're making more money out of existing clients than they are new, and they're growing those. So if we can give agencies more things to go back to their existing clients with and say, hey, have you thought about this? Or we've got this thing that does X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Would you like to subscribe and buy into it? So that's our aim, really, the future direction.
Yeah, and I think that's the key thing is that, far better have 10 really great clients that you do work for and they're helping them grow and scale, rather than 110 where they're almost like done, and you're like looking for the next project. Yeah. So it's like a bit like a sausage machine. You're bringing people in and spinning them out and bringing them out. Yeah. And I think for me, and certainly for our agency, that's what we enjoy. We enjoy building a relationship and the sort of like the evolution of a business. Watching it launch, watching it start. We just engaged with another phase of work with a data-driven company. So they literally create dashboards and stuff with data, and they got partners and all that sort of stuff, but they've grown and scaled to a point, and now they're like, right, now we need to communicate all this stuff we've done that no one knows about. And so that's quite exciting because they've grown really well, really quickly, but sustainably. And because they are data geeks at heart, I don't think they mind me saying that, it's like they're using AI, and we're always asking them questions just to say, well, what is going on out there? One of the things I found quite interesting is the aspects of no-code tools. So no-code tools is obviously traditionally you develop with code, and now there's tools that exist that were rubbish 2 or 3 years ago that have now got really good. And so in one of my other businesses, was a software company, we're doing a lot of MVP work in and around no-code tools. So get the users first, get their feedback, and then develop, rather than build the whole thing, take forever, and then the technology's out of date. So that's been quite interesting. So it's always good to ask questions in multiple different sectors of what's going on and where it's going. And that's helped give me longevity, because seeing industries transform, and hosting being one of them. But I guess for me, aside from hosting, and not that you should give anything away, but do you see yourself doing anything in the aspects of additional services? Like, for instance, let's say a website's being built and it's quite complex and they've got too much time on their hands, they're too busy, but they need someone to undergird. Is that something you've considered, like to support the devs out there that need a bit of help or anything like that?
Yeah, no, yes, we have. And we've got, again, some product ideas around that to help. A lot of, so whilst we have our hosting, we have our platform, which I know you know about. So our platform helps agencies manage hundreds of websites through that platform. Lots of developer tools and things like that already built in. And we recognise the need to do more because of the clients coming to us. And there's a particular one where every time I mention it to, probably like the Holy Grail, but every time I mention it to an agency who certainly specialises in development and say, what happens if we could build a tool that supports your QA process, and it just does it, by AI, let's say, whatever that looks like, and it goes through, learns the site, and it tests it for you. And I don't think I've ever had somebody go, no, I wouldn't buy that. It's huge, right? So it's like, you start having these conversations. An idea is great, but then you think, all right, how do you develop it? How do you build it? How do you start to think about, okay, well, what could the MVP be to test that? So we're looking at those types of tools where every time you mention something, if I continue, if I ask 5 people and every 5 person eyes light up and they tell me how great that would be, you think, okay, I've got something here.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, as a hosting company, it's saying, what can you do more than just hosting?
Yes.
And I think, we've seen tools that have emerged, like SEO tools, content tools, speed tools, all those other things that can help undergird people, but, not necessarily the creative agency going, oh, and now we've got to set up a speed arm, and now we've got to set up a content, it's like, how can the hosting team allow that agency to outsource more? And then obviously keep growing and scaling what they do best.
Yes.
Because I think in our early days when we started as an agency, we were everything. We were building websites and then we were hosting them, and then we realised that's 2 different things.
Yeah.
And as websites got more complex, the hosting got more frustrating. And it's like, well, I'm going to build a website, not fix a website. And that's why, we started looking for people like yourselves and engage with you, because it just took that away from us, And obviously we got a relationship, so we would talk and feedback and perfect what we needed. But it's that complementary service. You're not competing with agencies, and that's what I like about what you do.
Yeah, and I suppose building on that as well is we don't need to be a master of everything as well.
Yeah,
we ourselves as a hosting business can partner with other companies to bring agencies the tools. If the tools are all in our platform, but they're tools that agencies perhaps know and love already, but actually it's just more efficient and effective because they're more tightly coupled or tightly integrated, then that's another string to our bow, and our agency clients will go, oh, thanks for doing that. Well, they can subscribe through us, or maybe we can get some deals with some partnerships. Those are the other things that we need to think about, not just building everything ourselves, and try and make sure that we stay true to our core of what we feel we should own and have the IP for, versus those that we can go, okay, well, we're happy to partner with these, or partner with part of their whatever their software might be. Can we tap into this thing because it's got X network or whatever, so it's trying to work with other partners to bring that into our fold as well.
I mean, part of me, I know you may have already done this, so I'm not telling you to how you run your business, but even an awards of the best websites out there would be a good way of, again, tightening the gap between agencies and whatever, recognizing their work to then, and there's obviously awards of various different levels and whatever, to work together and celebrate the creativity, because creatives often don't get celebrated enough. It's like, get that website out, it's done. Right, next, there's a next brief, So it might be an idea that you can utilize, because I think that's the point is that growth is recognizing that behind every website there are people, there are people creating it and there are people maintaining it, and it's just how do you build those relationships.
You're right, and I think you're right from moving from one project to the next. No, I don't. Agencies are notoriously bad of just we smash that one out, next one, because that's
don't celebrate wins.
No, they don't celebrate wins very well. I don't know if many. Sometimes we do in our business think, oh, we should probably take stock here and think, actually, that what we've just done over the last 3 months has been really good. But we're always, a business is always trying to plan for the future and the cycles. And what we try to do in our business is we plan for 3 years, but we plan 12-month plan, and then we plan quarterly, but we also do quarter retrospectives of every team to sit there and go, what is that celebrations that you want to talk about, and shout somebody out, your team member, how do they do this, that and the others, and other teams as well. And I think that's done a really good job for building cross-team collaboration. So development team did this, or the marketing team did this, I really appreciated that. So it's, and then we have our company-wide meeting, and we'll shout those things back at people.
Yeah.
Oh, the dev team said this about you guys, I said that, because otherwise you just fixate on the problems and then you go, well, marketing team haven't done that, dev haven't done that, so it's
well, you got because then you move into the silo thing,
exactly.
and then everyone's silo's better than the other person's
Of course
silo.
they are, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we're the best.
Yeah.
If it weren't for these guys, we'd be even better. It's like, no, we're all working together. We're all on the same side, And for me, it's like within the creative agency, we've got multiple disciplines. So we've got production, we've got design, we've got digital aspects, and it's reckoned that they all work together.
Yeah.
And we all need to work together. And, when there's a problem, you might find that the production guy or the videographer has got an idea about your tech. Why? Because he's not constrained to your tech thinking and might be able to solve the problem.
I love those ideas though, because they always create the friction, don't they?
Yeah.
But then you're probably the person that, like me, who's in the middle going, yeah, but that is a really good idea. So how do we actually do it?
Yeah,
let's build it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got to do this thing now. But you're right. It's that friction between that sort of naivety to not know how those things work to actually push the innovations on, and that's really nice. That is.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it's the same. It's the same in marketing in a sense. Is that the best marketing ideas is you work out what works in another sector and just take it and put it in a new one, and it's never been done before.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh wow, that's incredible. Like we talk about value proposition, but the original value proposition in a sense was done in the fitness industry. I was this big and I drunk this thing, and then I got that small.
Yeah.
And they nailed it. So everyone, we're used to before and afters.
Yeah.
But then if you take that to property, you go, oh, it's the same tool. It's like, this house looked like this. It's disgusting. We did this, and now look at how amazing it is. That before and after thing was in one sector, and you've now taken it and put it to another one.
Yeah.
So that's where I think innovation is not necessarily coming out of a completely different idea, but it's working out how do you learn from a sector that's doing well, and how can you bring it into a fresh one that could actually reinvent it in some respect.
Agree. I think what I like about agencies and why. We do have a marketing team in-house, but we also have an agency that we use, is because of those fresh ideas, those fresh thinking, and not so close to, or the wider market view that they have and the different clients that they work with. They're able to give us other ideas other than, I do try to make sure that the marketing team look beyond the infrastructure market, but we do live and breathe that a lot, so it's quite nice to have somebody else come in and go, well, actually we did this, or do you know that, like the examples that you've just given, they're completely different, but they would work, their parallels would work, and they would work well. So, and then it's case studies, it's those sorts of things. So that's the bit I like from agencies as well, is all that creative. There's so many creative minds in agencies that
you got to pick, haven't you? You've got to pick of agencies to pick all their ideas, because you're looking after them all.
It's tricky though to think that because we work with so many, we don't always want to work with them, because then does that blur the relationship and the boundaries. Sometimes it's a bit tricky, because when if they need to hold us to account for something, or we need to hold them to account for something, you've got to have a lot of trust in that relationship. And we've worked with people who we work with in the past, and that's been fine. But I don't know, always in the back of my mind thinking, well, what if that happens? Will that be a problem?
Well, I guess that's a strength of a relationship. And I think, getting back to that thing is that you always want to be reaching out, but there's also that circle of people that you can trust. I'll give you an example with B Corp. Even in the B Corp world, when some people find out I'm a B Corp, they go, hey, I'm a B Corp, would you like to buy all my services? And it's like, did you not read the assessment or take anything from it? Because if you're now hitting me out with a LinkedIn DM, you're not really thinking about the ethos of celebrating and collaborating. People want to be dated before they get married. Do you know what I mean? And so I get that. I just think you'll find that out of 1,000 creatives, you will find 10 people that you go, yeah, I want to work with these guys. And if you build a website, it's going to be looked after.
Yeah, exactly.
So for me, it's about partnership. It's you talk about businesses getting more. Businesses getting more business with existing clients. I mean, that's really good, and I think that is indicative of the industry. I think that was our strategy to get through COVID, to be fair.
Yep.
We were just like working more. It's all right. You're going to have to reinvent it. How can we help? And some of them did courses, and we popped that up and we did that. And it was just like in tough times, some of them we were like, okay, look, we know it's tough. We're only small. We're going to suspend costs on X, and then help them get through, and and that's paid off brilliantly for us from some clients. One of our largest clients, they literally phoned me up and said, we're really close to like just giving up, and they're quite a large organisation, and at one point they were, until the furlough scheme come out, they were very close to like just saying we're done. But the furlough scheme come out, and it was literally they were making a decision in the morning. The furlough come out in the afternoon.
Oh, wow.
So by the evening, I'm like, okay, we're good. We're still going to go. We had an open and honest conversation with them and said, look, they can't go any further forward while we are where we are. It was a bit, oh my gosh, how are we going to get through this for ourselves? But we did, and when everything come back online, we'd done a whole load of work with them.
Right.
And I think sometimes the measure of relationship is not necessarily in the good times.
No, you're right.
It's often when it's tough, and then you realise these are the people that we can rely on. I mean, that was one of the good things that come out with it. We recognised nearly all of our clients were great people.
Yeah,
literally, like they're all trying to do good stuff.
Yeah.
And we just got to figure a way to get through it, and that's what it felt like by having people that we did work quite closely with, and sometimes exchange of services. They were paying us and we were paying them, but it's what got us through. And I think that mentality is in our business even now. When people are going through a tough time, we don't just go, well, if you don't pay for it, we'll switch you off.
Yeah.
We'll tell Nimbus to switch you off.
Yeah.
And here's their phone number.
Yeah, give them a call. Yeah, cheers for that.
No, but the point of it is that it's worth recognising that everyone's going through a tough time or whatever. How can you help? How can you bridge the gap? How you can keep them going? And I think, websites at the time, that was a cost, and it's like, oh my gosh, if I got no revenue coming in, how am I going to pay for my hosting? And so it's like coming up with deals and structuring things to get them through.
Yeah, I think that's to say when I was running the agency, we did a similar thing where I think I just mentioned to everybody, once I'd realised that actually we weren't particularly losing clients and our revenue was fairly stable, I just thought, right, let's re-strategize and just help the market, just be around, because actually that's going to pay dividends. When we come out of this, people are going to go, that company helped us through that, they did this, they did that, and we tried to provide guides, lots of videos, lots of things, and just offer our advice. But ultimately, because we weren't selling, so we were just sat there as a business. It's like, well, why don't we do this? Because we've got the income coming through. Yeah, okay, we're not growing, but that's fine. We'll just be helping the market, and that in that point it did strengthen our relationship. It opened up some really good partnerships with some businesses. So we were in the accounting spaces who we were selling to at the time. We partnered with the ACCA, who were one of the biggest governing bodies for accounting, and we were their sole marketing partner in the UK.
Wow.
Because we'd been doing what we were doing and reaching out, and that made a huge difference to our business over time. So those sorts of things, you never know where it's going to get you.
No, we were in a marketing group and we just started giving value. Well, how am I going to do this? Well, why don't you just put a pop-up on your website? Like, what? Well, give them some value. Do a lead magnet. They didn't know what it was, and we weren't doing all the lead magnets. They were banging it together on Canva and stuff like that. But it was just, as long as we give value in the midst of this stressing, trying time, when they need more value and they got a bit of budget, they're gonna come back and engage and work with us. So, it pays to do good in the midst of bad, so to speak. So really cool. So how would someone engage with Nimbus? Obviously there's a lot of agencies out there. Is it just creative agencies that you work with, or there are or other firms that go direct to you?
Clients tend to work with us in a couple of ways. Our preferred route really is to go directly through the agency. So it's back to that reoccurring income, really. We want them to be able to partner with them to sell and structure their hosting in a way that creates a revenue stream for them. So they come direct to us and we would help them with that. The other route is some predominantly smaller, or as you say, sometimes creative agencies who might be slightly smaller tend to refer their client into us. But we would still want that agency to be part of that relationship because we don't deal with the website. So if the website does go down or there's a problem, that's, we're the infrastructure guys. We can point you to where maybe the problem might be, but we wouldn't be able to fix it and solve it.
Correct.
So they need an agency. So that's typically how we tend to work with. There's always an agency involved in that scenario, or a freelance developer as well. So freelance developers, again, they're the ones who would typically refer those clients because I don't think they want the hassle of billing. So we deal with all the billing and all that sort of stuff, which is quite nice, and they just get the passive income from the referrer that they've sent over.
That's great. So how would someone get in touch? Straight through the website? An agency wants to get in touch with you?
nimbushosting.co.uk. Go on there, check us out, see our sustainability credits that we've just talked about, backing up what we're doing. and then just get in contact with us really and have a chat about what they want to do. They can book on to a consultancy sort of chat with our team to work out how much they're charging for their infrastructure now and their hosting and all that sort of stuff, and we'll come up with the ROI on where they could go and what they could be doing and how they could be charging for it, which I think makes us significantly different to other hosting providers where you just sort of, I just need to change my hosting provider.
Well, I think the difference I would say between you and people that were using it is people at the end of the phone.
100%.
It's not a faceless, nameless organisation where you can't get hold of anyone when you need them. That's what's been really good from our point of view, that if something is a little bit more sinister, we can get hold of you fairly easily. It's not like, oh, we're stuck and we'll be back in touch in 48 hours. No, I need an answer in 4.8 seconds.
And to explain it in detail to my client quickly. And I think that's the thing. We get agencies, our support team really get agencies, and they know that they have to provide detail for you guys to go back to your client with. It's not just like, it's fixed, thanks, don't come back to us. It's like, how did it get fixed? And will it happen again?
Will it happen again?
Exactly.
and that's the main thing. Will it happen again? And it's even more scary when you go, I don't know.
But sometimes that can be the case. I think also when you're working with technology and things, you don't always if you're not in the technology world, sometimes when you say, will it happen again, you go, I don't actually know. But then people go, no, you need to know. And it's like, but if you do something different on your website, that may have an effect and might have a knock-on effect. So it would be remiss of us to say it will never happen again because we don't know what you're going to do on your side. But we can guarantee on our infrastructure it's going to be fine. But so it's that kind of relationship really. But agencies get that, and I think we work incredibly well partnering with them to solve their problems and help them with their as you say, help them with their clients and partner with them, rather than, as you say, fire a ticket in, a couple of days later you get a response and that's it. Whereas you can pick up the phone now and speak to one of the guys and have a good chat about the weekend and then get on with the problem. Absolutely.
And then just lastly, where Nimbus, obviously, where do you see it in the next 5 years? Where do you think you're looking to go beyond the UK, or you maybe already are? Or is it a product led growth, or is it territory led growth? What's the big picture?
Good question. We want to widen our market appeal. There, we spent a lot of time focusing in on WordPress. We do support any PHP-based site, but we want to go beyond that to JavaScript sites, Laravel, all that sort of stuff. So make more of that. We can still support it and host it, but we don't have a huge amount of tools yet in our platform.
Right.
So there's a lot more that we could be doing in there, I think, for our clients. So that's widening our market appeal on our current platform. Yeah. There's a couple of, as I mentioned earlier, a couple of pieces of software we want to work on. We don't want to give too much away, but we're going to start testing and trialing those this year and see. But that goes beyond hosting. That's something to do around retainers, and it will probably position us in a completely different space to hosting, which is really exciting. And then staying true to our core, which is then looking at the new add-ons and all the rest of it in hosting. So as a business, what I try and do is we do a 70-20-10 rule. So 70% is business as usual, 20% is building on top of the cool things that we've already done, and that 10% is, okay, what's the future? What's the thing that we haven't done yet or not invented? So how do we do that? And that's, if we've got that cycle going, hopefully we'll stay around for years to come.
It's how Google did 80-20. So that, Gmail and Maps came out of the 20% time, which is, we're using them.
Oh, it's definitely not. I didn't make it up. Yeah, it's definitely.
No, I'm just smiling when I say Google because the AI arm has had a bit of bad publicity of late. So maybe Elon's already jumped on that one.
Probably.
Yeah, laughing at them. But so for me, if you want to get in touch with Nimbus, if you're a creative agency that need help, these guys are great in what they do. They've really helped us, and those that work with us, we work with these guys to make sure that your websites are up. So thanks so much for taking the time and having a chat on the sofa. And trust that some people will reach out and people got some benefits. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to the Purpose People podcast. How you can help us is to like and subscribe our YouTube channel. You can also subscribe to our podcasts on Apple, Spotify, Google and Amazon. That helps us get our message out there to help people go after their dreams, double down on it and be successful in life on their terms.